climate anxiety, but the climate is everywhere. It's unavoidable. It's every aspect of our existence. You don't go anywhere in the world without existing within a climate. So imagine being anxious about reality itself. The first time I ever grappled with climate anxiety was following a best friend's birthday party. We exited the restaurant, we're walking outside, and it was one of the first times in my life where I realized, whoa, the summer might be getting a little too hot for me. Now, in my defense, due to my ethnic background, the sun is literally my mortal enemy. It's like Super Mario Bros. 3 level of mortal enemy. And climate anxiety is real, like clinically, medically, scientifically real. A survey published in the American Psychological Association found that 66% of Americans, 2/3 of Americans, have some form of climate anxiety. Those hit the hardest, young adults and children. A study in The Lancet showed that 84% of people within that age range of 16 to 25 years old say that they are moderately worried about climate change. But if you pull deeper within that age group, you'll find that 60% of those people are extremely worried about it. And that makes sense because young people are going to have to bear the brunt of the effects of climate change moving forward. As a matter of fact, a 2021 UNICEF report says that over 1 billion children will be at extremely high risk due to climate change. And young people, they're extremely vulnerable to chronic stress, depression, anxiety, and substance use disorders, all of which can stem from the increased anxiety due to climate change. Now, by admitting I deal with climate anxiety, I risk being called soy by a bunch of MAGA losers. But as a semi-vegetarian, I like soy, so I'm reclaiming it. Deal with it. At least Samara Cyn seems to agree. See, Samara Cyn is a rapper-singer, or singer-rapper. I would say more of a rapper-singer. If you're close to or over 40 like me, I'm not telling you which one of those I am. Think the mold of a Lauryn Hill. Or if you're younger, think somebody that came out after the start of the Drake era, aka any music that came out post 808s and Heartbreak. But Samara Cyn, very talented wordsmith, mixes dope rhymes with neo-soul vocals, definitely a very personal storyteller. But recently I saw an interview with her on The Daily Show. Josh Johnson was hosting last week. It was really good.
I have not come across someone whose work has been more like the real deal than yours. Like when I've been listening to your music and everything, there's something that is so special about your beat selection, your intention with your lyrics, and the way that you express yourself. Where we're just meeting now, but I feel like I know you. Like I feel like we're friends from listening to the music over and over again.
And in the interview, Josh Johnson was saying how through listening to her music, he said he felt like he knew her, which is completely fair. Now with me, when I was listening to her music, I felt like she knew me, which I'm not gonna lie, is a little creepy. Now, before her appearance in this year's Double XL freshman class, which would have been great like 10 years ago, she released an EP titled Backroads, and it was only 5 tracks, which is just fine because it didn't need to be any longer. Now, one track in particular grabbed me. It was this beautiful song called Summer's Turning. Honestly, the whole EP is worth a listen. I mean, she has a track on there called Poppin' Olive, which is playing on the old school Popeye cartoon with him in olive oil. I grew up on Popeye, so I noticed that right away. I'm like, oh my God, somebody else had my childhood, or an element of my childhood. I doubt she and I had a similar childhood in any respect whatsoever, but As a fan, you like to relate to the artists that you listen to, but as a whole, the album is deeply grounded in personal experience, which is why when you listen to someone like that, it hits so hard when someone living their own life somehow ends up reflecting an aspect of yours. So to start, Summer's Turning, she opens with, "Summer's getting hotter, too hot for me." I don't sing, but I find it funny because the album came out on the solstice, the start of summer. So immediately this song is released then, and you're left thinking, well, geez, summer's just started. Are we already giving up on summer? No, absolutely not. But at the same time, it's like, is this song really about climate change? Like, is she really talking about summer, the temperature of summer? Rappers are known for veiling their emotions in metaphors. It's kind of a thing that they do. So you might wonder, is she talking about a summer fling, family drama, some personal heat? No, but she follows with, "The world is changing, middle March, and we still getting snow. They tried to gas me up, but I'm still getting cold." First of all, that line is cold right there. That is a bar right there. If you don't think that's a bar, I'd go back and listen again. That is a bar. But so she knows what she's doing. But I also believe two things can be true at once. Later in the song, she circles back to thinking about when things were simple. Yeah, that very simple line hits, because one of the things about climate anxiety for me always starts when I think about when I didn't have to think about it. Sometimes it's the little things. Like, one thing I always remember from my childhood is when we would be driving in the car and the bugs would splatter on the windshield. It seemed like there was a lot more bugs splattering on the windshield. All those bugs are gone. And there's 100,000 more egregious examples of what climate change is destroying and making disappear. But everybody relates to it in a way that their memory and their phenomenological experience guides them in. Sometimes I also think, do my friends feel this way? Do members of my family feel this way? Like, are people I love going through a similar type of anxiety? I certainly hope not. It's not fun for anyone to deal with, and that's a light way of putting it. It's awful. Like, if you actually care and it's something that you believe in, because there's plenty of people who don't. But I don't really wish that on anyone. But it's also a very rational thing to experience in today's day and age. By the end of the song, you're gonna realize that the song seems to be about everything except climate change. The song was never about climate change. I might be extrapolating a little bit, but that's the point. Climate change is kind of the elephant in the room for many of us. We live with it as very harsh background noise. It's there, but we don't let it consume us. That isn't to say that it shouldn't be more than background noise, but because of who we are and the fact that we live within a climate, it's a part of us even when it isn't. And if we did let it consume us, though, it would take away from those human moments that we need to experience in order to live life in a healthy way. It's still good to find joy. It's still good to find meaning, even in the most mundane things. All of those things are important, so we shouldn't stop feeling those things. Unfortunately, we can't avoid its effects. For instance, there was a 2023 meta-analysis that took a look at 15 studies on CO2 exposure and cognitive function. Now, most of these studies looked at indoor spaces and elevated CO2 levels, but the meta-analysis showed that even a short exposure to elevated CO2 can impair our thinking. So with CO2 levels rising globally, it's not unreasonable to think people might be getting foggier. Not because of AI, not because of smartphones, but might just be because of the climate that we live in. But we'll still get blamed for scrolling TikTok, right? Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Hegel. Hegel is a German philosopher who came up with a few very interesting observations about nature and reality. One of his observations that's most relevant to our discussion here is his text on the phenomenology of the spirit. Basically, what Hegel was saying in the phenomenology of spirit, that human consciousness grows through the process of dialectics. Now, don't worry, dialectics might be a new term for you, it might be familiar to some, but think of it this way. When you are considering whether or not you know something, you have a thesis, a way of describing it. But also in that same analysis, you have an antithesis, which creates a contradiction that your analysis has to resolve. So you have thesis, antithesis. Now, to analyze them and come to a greater understanding, you want to synthesize them. So thesis, antithesis, synthesis. The contradiction within climate anxiety saying life is beautiful while we're also doing things that's going to make it hard for life to even exist. So what's the synthesis for that? That's the hard part. Nobody really has a good answer for it. But maybe it's this. We go on, we chase wisdom, we love our loved ones, we find joy, we remain optimistic that we can change the world. We also listen to Samara Cyn. We take a refuge in understanding that just being wiser to the issue brings us closer to being part of the solution. So yeah, summer's turning, but you know what? Maybe we're turning too. Yeah, that was corny, I know.